Welcome, listener. This is Sebastian Nothwell, here today with RK Ashwick.
Hello!
To talk all about A Draught for a Dragon.
Woo! Let's go!
So what is A Draught for a Dragon?
A Draught for a Dragon is the third and final book in the Side Quest Row series. For a bit of necessary backstory, let me walk you through the trilogy, and I do apologize. This will contain some spoilers for books 1 and 2 since we're talking about a book 3, but I'll try to keep them minimal. So the first book in the series is Arrival Most Vile. So in Arrival Most Vile, rival potioneers Ambrose and Eli work together on a joint commission for the mayor, and spoiler alert, fall in love in the process. It is a cozy, low-stakes rivals to lovers story. And then in book 2, A Captured Cauldron, Ambrose gets kidnapped and voluntold to make an impossible potion, and Eli and his friends go on a reverse potioneer heist to rescue him. It is, in fact, still cozy, and during this adventure, Ambrose comes across an unlikely ally in a servant named Nat. And all of that is important because in book 3, we're coming in 2 years after the events of A Captured Cauldron. So Nat is now Ambrose's apprentice. Our friends Dawn and Banneker also have apprentices named Zuri and Luca. Ambrose is hoping to move on with his life post-kidnapping, except he is now astrally connected to a hibernating dragon that is trapped by the same criminals that kidnapped him. So basically, he is sporadically visiting a dragon in his dreams. And even in the world of Rosamund Street and in Ambrose's world, that is kind of strange and unusual. So Ambrose and Nat are documenting these dreams and trying to figure out, like, what's going on? Is the dragon waking up? And in one dream, the dream that we kind of start on, Ambrose appears in the dragon's cave and sees that the criminals are preparing to abandon the dragon and basically leave him for dead, just as this dragon is starting to wake up from his hibernation. And that is just so not cozy of them, and Ambrose won't stand for it. So he gets his friends together to rescue the dragon, which they have named Theo. They realize the ingredients they need for their rescue potion will require a quest. They cannot get it in the city, and so they decide to go on a quest themselves with Eli as their leader. And they can't just abandon their magical shops, of course, right? So they leave the apprentices, Nat, Zuri, and Luca, to manage the whole street without them. And both sides of this adventure, you got the merchants bumbling on a quest and the young apprentices trying to manage an entire street. Both of those go about as well as you would expect them to, and that is A Draught for a Dragon.
I was thrilled before that explanation, and now I am, dare I say, on tenterhooks for the conclusion to this trilogy.
Yes! I got the tenterhooks!
It really does indulge the reader in, I feel like, every Dungeons & Dragons player's fantasy, which is taking your favorite non-player characters who have no business going adventuring on your quest.
Absolutely. This is for everybody out there who, like, their D&D party falls in love with this random, like, shopkeeper NPC that the DM has made. The DM probably didn't even name them, but they started asking questions, and now suddenly this little shopkeeper is so important to them. And yeah, this is in honor of all of those blorbos out there. Sorry, DMs, but they're great.
Unintentional blorbos, this one's for you.
Yeah.
Well, there's quite a bit to get hyped for in there, but what part of this book were you most excited to write?
There's a couple parts. So, like, one part is obviously the dragon. Theo and Ambrose, because they are astrally connected, they can communicate with each other. So I got to write about Ambrose talking to a young petulant dragon and, like, trying to navigate how do I have a conversation with a dragon. And that was really great because How to Train Your Dragon was extremely formative for me, and it shows in this book. But there is one very important aspect to A Draught for a Dragon that I have not mentioned yet, and that is Eli's intention to propose to Ambrose. That's not a spoiler, it's in the blurb. I was excited about pretty much every part of that because I love Eli and Ambrose so much. One particularly emotional aspect of that part of the story is that Ambrose is hesitant about having a wedding because he doesn't have a traditional biological family. And in this world, weddings heavily emphasize family tradition and the joining of two families. And he really feels that weddings are a space that he doesn't belong in. As a result, there's a lot of shame and embarrassment and kind of old feelings of abandonment that go along with that. But at the same time, he desperately wants to marry Eli and show his love for him. So that internal conflict of Ambrose is very close to my heart. It's not, a huge grand arc, but it is very important to him.
This feels like, with all the affection in the world, a big get loved idiot plot for Ambrose.
It really is. In book 1 is a little bit like that too, with like recognize that you're loved, idiot, where like that found family is already around him. He just has been very prickly and kind of hesitant to like accept it. And then in book 2, we see him start to bring people into the found family and kind of extend that same love and devotion through bringing Nat into the family. And then now, as he's kind of doing the same thing with Theo, that past doesn't completely go away and it still comes back in different forms. So yeah, it is get loved, idiot. He knows he's loved. But like there's the external kind of hurdle of like, what do other people expect from me and from this? And, you know, how am I not measuring up to them? And really the answer is it doesn't matter.
Wonderful. So I know you are very much a planner. You like to have your books very well outlined, very well organized, but did anything about this book surprise you while you were writing it?
Yes, Zuri surprised me. So Zuri is Dawn's apprentice. In this book, the new romance, just like in Capture Cauldron, we got Dawn's POV and Dawn had a romance with Rory, who's still around, of course. In this book, we have a new POV that's Nat, and Nat has a romance with Luca, who is Banneker's apprentice. So Nat is demi-romantic and slowly realizes that she's fallen in love with her best friend Luca. But Zuri has to be this third wheel who loves them both dearly and berates both of them, and also needed to stand out personality-wise between the three apprentices, which meant that I could go a little unhinged with her. She's very deadpan, very sarcastic, a little bit of like April Ludgate, and she was just a lot of fun to write next to Nat's confident leadership that can sometimes go 70 miles an hour in the wrong direction and Luca's paralyzing anxiety. So Zuri had to be very separate from both of them.
A nice little balancing factor for the three of them.
Yes.
I do love having kind of a safety valve character to just be chaotic through in the narrative.
Yeah, she is comic relief and kind of a voice of reason in many instances. Yeah, I love her.
What was the hardest part of writing A Draught for a Dragon?
Oh my god. So I don't know if you remember when we were talking about Spirit's Curse back in like April or May, and I was complaining about Act 2. Well, guess what? Came back. Act 2, baby.
Another Act 2.
God, it's almost like every story has an Act 2.
They just keep happening.
I hate it. It's just like with Spirit's Curse. It honestly, in kind of like the setting as well, in that there's a setting that our main characters reach and they spend a lot of time in that I just sort of assumed would materialize as I was writing. I was like, yeah, it's a cozy, whatever. It'll come easy to me, right? No, it did not. So I had to go through several drafts to figure out what this place was, how it was going to best serve the story, how big or small should it be. And honestly, it was just embarrassing at that point. I was like, I should be getting this. I'm happy with where it landed. Like, I'm happy with where we are now, but it took a hot second to get there, and seeing as a significant chunk of the story takes place there, that made it hard to write.
Was it just drafting over and over and working it out as you went that helped you get through it?
Honestly, yeah. Going into the first draft, I was like, yeah, it'll be like a whole village. And I was like, something about this is not working. It's just not standing out. Having it be a whole village is really creating a lot of just kerfuffle that is not helping the story. It's not needed. Yeah, it was just like through each draft, as I was figuring out, like, what is the role of this place in the story? What are the bare bones of what it needs to have? And then I just had to keep kind of like rebuilding it from there. But I could only do that through all of the drafts, which I was not a fan of because I don't want to have to do that many drafts. But so maybe one day Act 2 will get easier for me. This year was not that year.
Not this year. Maybe next year.
Maybe 2026.
In a related matter, what did you learn through writing this book?
Okay, I learned not to write trilogies. That's just for me. By the end, so...
It's wild that by finishing your second trilogy, you learned...
I mean, it's a lesson I like pretty much learned with Spirit's Curse, but it really cemented it for me because, of course, like I'm still obsessed with Ambrose and Eli and the rest of Rosamund Street. They all live very deep in my soul. But for me, it seems that 5 to 6 years is my personal limit on working in the same series. So I am very excited to get into new worlds and new characters and just new things in general. But yeah.
Excited for all the new stories.
Me too.
What do you hope readers take away from this story?
I just hope readers can find a community they belong in. Honestly, that's like the whole theme of the book and kind of the whole series. For this book particularly, it's like belonging, with Ambrose's internal wedding conflict, with Nat's desire to prove that she is a part of Rosamund Street, with Theo trying to figure out where he goes in life now that he has woken up and doesn't have a family of his own around him. I just want like the same for readers. I want them to feel secure in their community, whatever that is.
Yeah, I feel like it comes up again and again just how true found family rings to the queer experience and like how vital it is to build that community amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
Now, I know you said 6 years was the upper limit for how long you want to be in a world, but are there any plans for further stories in Side Quest Row?
So I don't have any books planned at the moment. The next 2 books I have in mind are totally different worlds, different characters, but I do maybe have a video game planned.
Yes.
If I can. It's harder than the last video game that I made, so like we'll see if I am able to make it. But I am like partway through a test version of it. Partway, keyword, part. It's a game set in the Midnight Snack, which is Viola's Bakery on Rosamund Street. That opens up in book 2. You play as a Viola, and it's your job to set the bakery menu, decorate and enchant the desserts, and then also guess the favorite desserts of the other merchants on Rosamund Street. So you would sell your goodies, and at the end of the day, one of the neighbors would appear, say Ambrose or Eli or Dawn. They'll try something from the menu, and then they'll drop hints about what they like or what another neighbor likes. You can also decorate the shop to try to entice a specific neighbor to come into the store. So you're like, I think I know what Ambrose's favorite dessert is. I'm going to decorate the whole store blue to hopefully get him to come into the shop, today. You can also buy new ingredients and decorations and enchantments. And I'd love to program it so that once you do unlock a neighbor's favorite dessert, you get a little like cutscene of them talking with another neighbor just to like add some more Rosamund Street lore in there.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, the hope is that it would just be cute, and it's another way to kind of interact with the characters, and then also an excuse for me to draw a lot of baked goods.
An excuse to flex those artistic muscles, and also a nice way to put like a fresh spin on a world you've spent 3 books building.
Exactly.
Now, if people would like to keep up with everything going on in Rosamund Street and Side Quest Row, where can they find A Draught for a Dragon?
Yes, so as of this recording, I have ARCs and pre-orders out now, so you can find both of those on rkashwick.com, or you can find me on Instagram at rkashwickbooks.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me and telling us all about A Draught for a Dragon.
Of course, thank you.
And listener, we hope you will join us for another roundtable soon.
Bye!